my partner and my friend.
Right. And he put the mic up, you know.
Oh, that's a mic, I forgot. Forgot about the mic. And he was really kind of my father, you know. I mean, I learned a lot of things that I didn't even know I needed to learn just by being with him. And this film was such an interesting thing because I was sitting in, most of the time I was sitting in Bobby's office, and I did go down with Vivian and the guy, I can't remember his name, to a safe house. And we spent the night down in Alabama before the walk-in. And Ricky was set up with in a nearby gymnasium where he was really sort of in charge of what would go on, and he could see that he figured out something that was kind of outfoxed the governor. But what was really amazing for me of what he did, I was sitting in Bobby's office, and Bobby would pick up a phone many times during the day, and I would shoot it, and he'd mumble something into the phone, and I would get it on film. But you had no idea who he was talking to. And Ricky was down in the South getting calls there, and he had the same problem. But he spent many, many days finding the phone calls that matched. And that was something that even our complicated sync rigs had no way to do. In fact, getting sync was hard enough. But as you can see from primary sync, we often didn't get it at all. But in this one, we had cameras. These were the last cameras. And all the cameras, by the way, were homemade. I don't know if you realize that. There was no camera. The Aeroflex was too noisy and wasn't in sync. And there was no other camera, so we had to make our own sync cameras. And that was one of the amazing things for me is they all worked. But watching this film, it's hard. It's like watching sometime when you were like at summer camp, when you were really happy. And it was an amazing thing, and I kind of forgotten about a lot of it. But when I see those people, and Burke and Bobby, whom I got to be very good friends with Bobby. And at one point, the White House wouldn't let me in. I tried to go in the front door to keep up with what was going on, and they threw me out right outside the door. And I went to Bobby, and he said, "I hear you're having trouble getting in." I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, we'll have to get you in." So he drove me over. That's how we went in the back door, and he drove me over and let me off at I guess it's the Rose Garden or whatever they call it. And I went in to the circular office there, and JFK Kennedy was all by himself. And so we sat and talked a little bit, and then he showed me the holes in the floor. He said, "You know what those are?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Those were Eisenhower's golf shoes." And so, and then one of whoever is the leader of the people that didn't want me around walked in. They were quite surprised to see me there, as brought in by Bobby. But it was such an amazing time because the people involved, we were involved with the president and Bobby, were so receptive to what we were doing, which is, in a sense, we weren't news cameramen, we were historians, and Kennedy dug that. At one point he said to me, "You know, I wish I had film of the moment when Roosevelt had to declare war on Japan." And I thought, well, that's curious. And I thought, no, of course he had to see that, because that's what he would have to do if the moment came up. And you realize what a terrible role presidents have. They're responsible in the end for everything. And they have to be right. They have to be smart and right. And of course they want to see what other presidents have done, you know, and there is no such history. I mean, this is probably the only such film that will ever exist, because can you imagine anybody letting us in like that? And they didn't care. I could stand around and film, and there were just two of us, basically a sound and me, and they just let us do kind of whatever we wanted. And we never, of course, asked them any questions or interviewed anybody or were any bother. And it was a time when filmmaking, at least briefly, ruled. And that was, for me, that was just fantastic. I don't know, maybe you have some questions. I'm not even sure if I know the answers or I can remember who was who anymore. Greg Shooker was the guy that did it with me, and the two of us were just, I know outside of Bobby's door, there were about 4 news guys he wouldn't let in the office, and they were really pissed. And they managed to let us know later that it wasn't a fair arrangement, and you can't explain to people, you know, that's their job, is to get in there, and we were in there sopping up something that they needed for their jobs, and we weren't even going to make the 6 o'clock news. What we were going to do with it was way down the road, and that's kind of been our guide on. And Chris and I went into the war room, and James Carville said, well, have you ever done anything like this before? And I said, yeah, we filmed with Kennedy. And he looked at me and said, no, you didn't. You didn't. I said, yeah, we did. I'll show you. I got his handwriting. It's on a letter here somewhere. And he didn't believe it for a long time. But the idea of letting us just sit there was, once he got used to it, it was easy. We were part of the group. And when you can insert yourself into a situation and be a witness, not to hear about it, but to see it happen. And in this case, we had 3 different positions, which was sort of amazing, because we were with the governor, we were with the 2 kids, and we were with Bobby, and we were with Katzenbach. I mean, that you could get all of these situations interacting at the same time, kind of incredible. I mean, I don't know how you'd even set that up now, or even if anybody even listened to you, if you called them up and asked them.